right, good morning and thank you for keeping it Citizen Television since we started the show till now. It is Tuesday and we get into our social hour this Tuesday, and we want to talk about something that has been concerning since reports were released by the National Syndemic Disease Control Council that shows, the burden of HIV and AIDS in our country and young people attributing to the largest population of new infections. And that is why tumeamua leo kwa social hour let's talk about the young people. Let's talk about the issues that we usually avoid, and tunasema these are taboo subjects, but we are seeing our future generations slowly being claimed by this particular menace. And in studio, tuko wote leo. And I'm happy because of that. We have in studio with us CJ Atemo. Good to have you.
Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
Right.
I'm happy at least. Let me borrow from, can't complain. You're looking all good. Black is the color today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. What time did you wake up, Safin?
Shwacha, to me,
Goals.
Leo I was on the road around 4 a.m.
Wow. Good stuff, Maze. Yeah. Good job you're doing.
You.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. All right. Roberta.
Good morning.
Kuna chaos.
Hey, I was just telling Kitty, Vile, I think I need to learn discipline from her. I need to learn. Now, kona discipline ingine flani. I'm always talking and preaching, do this. But ikifika sa implementation, it's not, yeah. So yeah, I think it's time I need to preach, to practice what I'm always preaching. Yeah, but I'm happy, I feel good. Ni baridi too. Otherwise, everything is good.
Yeah. All right. But baridi nasumbua wengine pia iwasumbui.
Wengine wako sawa.
That'll live for another day. I mean, guys, we're looking at some very unfortunate numbers this morning. Yeah, in this show, we always strive to help people to know how to make better decisions, to become better as human beings. And today we want to talk about young people. Roberta, the other day, there were statistics that were released that 62 teenagers, adolescents, wacha niwaite hivyo, the ages between 10 and 19, get infected with HIV and AIDS every week. Ooh. 7 days, 62 adolescents get infected with HIV and AIDS. It's the age for me that actually informed why we should talk. 10 to 19, hapo kuna shida.
Those are very, very young people.
Yeah?
Those are kids. Yeah. And the numbers are very alarming. And it's like, I used to think when I'd hear these statistics about HIV, AIDS, I used to think, when technology improves and there's better dissemination of information, people are going to be better at taking care. And with knowledge comes power. This brings these consequences. Also, regarding the method of transmission, ukikuwa more aware, you know how to take care of yourself better. But it seems like the more technology improves and the more industrialized we become, it's like tuna decide intentionally kukua ignorant. Ama still hizi topics ni very taboo and we're just not discussing them or bringing them into topics. Tunaguzia tu juju ati, hey, if you sit there, when we were younger, we used to be told by our moms, don't sit near boys. If you sit near boys, you'll get pregnant. So there's no more information. So you live your whole life just being afraid of sitting near a boy. And then, information is not being passed the correct way. But I don't know. I just thought with the times, we're going to do better. So I don't know. It's really scary considering those are kids. But I like that we're discussing it since especially World AIDS Day is coming up just in a bit. Days. Yeah, and I think it's really, really important that we discuss. Inatoa stigma, inatoa fear, inatoa iyo woga ya watu kudiscuss na kuseek help, especially getting tested regularly, understanding exactly what HIV and AIDS is or what other consequences there are of intimacy and stuff like that. So I think it's really, really important. But those numbers, scary. It means hawezi jua uko wapi ama uko na nani ama uko aje unless you take responsibility of your own health and go out there, get tested, figure out, get the information, understand better so that you can just be better for everyone around you.
All right, QT, reality check. The last time I checked HIV, haupati, it's not airborne. If I'm wrong, you can correct me. But 10 to 19 years, QT, inatuambia nini as society? You know, we've been hiding our heads in the sand for quite too long. 10 to 19 years, the age bracket. What does it tell us as a society? What should we read from that trend?
It tells us that, first of all, trends have changed. What used to be there a long time ago no longer happens right now. Kids are exposed as young as 8. Because I have a 9-year-old nephew living with me right now, so I'm always keen to like track what he's watching, what he's doing, and I'm always amazed. I'm like, wow, you actually know that. Like, you actually know that, you know, like the things that these kids are watching. But you see, Safin, it goes back to parenting 101, because at the end of the day, it's the grassroots, it's the foundation that we are setting for our kids. Because the big age right now, I think it's about 8 to 10. 8 to 10 Apple, you start realizing kids are growing, their bodies are changing. But we're not talking about it. We just want to assume that and just throw that under the rug, you know. And I think sex is the most uncomfortable topic, even for adults, not just at the parent and kids, even for adults, adult to adult. Sex is a very uncomfortable topic right now, you know. Like, no one wants to talk about it. People don't even want to, when I'm in a relationship with someone, I don't even want to talk about getting tested and all that. But going back to our kids and the way we are bringing them up, we are exposing our kids. I mean, kids are having phones at 2 years. You're giving a child a phone to actually like get busy. We are busy parents, you know. The way we are going, you're giving a phone gadgets. We're giving them gadgets so that we are able to concentrate with. I'm working from home, so I need my child to be concentrating, to be distracted. Shika isimu, endo ucheze uko game. But are we monitoring what our kids are doing with the phones, with the gadgets? Have you linked that gadget to your phone to actually know what is your kid watching? Is that gadget PG? If your child is less than 5, Safina, and they already know how to operate a gadget, do you know what they're doing with that phone? Your kid is locking themselves in the room at 8 years old. They're in the room, you don't know what they're doing. But it's okay, like you're, see, I'm busy. I want to work, I'm working from home. I want to watch the news. So I don't know what my kid is doing. I don't even know what they're exposed to. I think it starts from the grassroots, the foundation. They say when you're building a house, the most important thing is the foundation. So it's the foundation of parenthood, like where this kid is starting from. What are they watching? What are they doing behind our backs? So it's us as parents to start from there. Like, we need to be very keen about what are our kids doing behind our backs. What are they watching? What are they doing? And who are they interacting with, Safin? Who is my child interacting with? Because if we don't introduce these topics to our kids at the age of 10, because, you know, 10 is preteen. We are like, oh my God, my child is 10, preteen. Do you know what preteen means? It's a big age, and their bodies start to change at 10. As we were not exposed to these things when we were younger. Safin, I'm telling you, I told you I didn't own a phone until I was in college, you know, like, I never used to
You never even thought about
I never even thought about it. But it doesn't mean that I was not exposed to these things, but just that our parents didn't talk to us. It was a taboo talking about sex. But I think right now, we need to introduce these things. Even in schools, we need to have subjects that are talking about sex, that are talking about HIV, because these kids are growing up so fast and things are changing, Safin. Right. It's the digital world.
It is, and unfortunately so. I mean, CJ, we are saying we need to talk. It's time for us to talk, but it's not very easy to have that conversation. I mean, talk to parents and caregivers. Now children are in holidays. It's that season where we, unfortunately, if things are not done right, we will be seeing some shocking statistics of teenage pregnancies and all that once the kids are going back to school. When we're saying talk, how do we break that subject down to a young mind? How do we even put that very difficult conversation on the table and start for a parent who is really in a very tight space right now?
You know, the younger people right now are very inquisitive. So the conversations with them would be so different because they are very proactive, even in the conversations. And you can't just come and tell them, don't do this and don't do this, because as we've said, you know, there's a lot of information. So they also are private to information. They may not be talking about it, but they're also private to information. And they get all kinds of things in their heads through their peers, through their teachers, through the net, and they're informed to a great degree.
Yeah.
They'll listen to you and they'll sieve whatever you're saying and they'll sift it. So it's not the easiest generation to talk to. I grew up in the generation where when something was said, if your parent talked, that was it. You were supposed to be quiet, silent, you don't argue, you don't ask, you don't think twice about it. But we are raising a very different generation that wants to ask you, why are you saying that? So if we are going to then have the conversation, it really has got to be a dialogue. And the first part should be to know what they know.
Yeah.
We can't come in with a presumption that they don't know anything. It's got to be, what do they know about this? What do your friends say? What have you heard about this? Because then they open up a bit more to let you know the much that they know. Then when you come in and try to direct the conversation, because some of them, if they've grown up very respectful, they may decide then not to talk to you about what they know because they think your reaction will be very different. But that does not change what they know. I think that we cannot assume that they do not know anything, and it has got to be conversational. But then again, even in the past, this was not anything that was done by singular people. A whole community and a whole village would raise people. Kids would come into spaces where there would be these older men or older women and have conversations probably by the fireplace or with the women. So it was a whole community bringing up this. And I think that's why sometimes it is difficult for parents to do that, because now we are so individualistic. And then we are supposed to have these conversations by ourselves. The discomfort that comes with that.
It's not very easy. I mean, you guys just say, let's talk. But, if you're a parent,
so
it's not easy.
It also depends on how well this parent is as a communicator.
Yes.
And how well they can have difficult conversations. You said it, that even for adults, there are certain things that are not easy for them to talk about. So how much more with a kid? And sometimes the parents are actually afraid of what they think the children know.
Yeah.
So they don't want to have this conversation because they might get to know what these kids know, and they're just hoping that somewhere at school or at a certain society club or at a church or in a religious institution, somebody will pick up this thing and talk to these kids. They're just hoping somebody's figuring out this thing for these kids. Then it is worse when it is boys, because you see generally girls open up a bit more. They talk a lot, so it is easier. It's easier to open up those conversations with girls, just from a simple point where Roberta was talking about, you're told, don't sit next to boys. We don't do that with boys. We don't tell them, don't sit next to girls. They're out over there figuring out life by themselves. They go out, play football, wars, rallies, whatever they will be doing. They come back home, they take a shower, take a bath, take food, and then sleep and wake up tomorrow. It's the next thing. It's not very easy for their mothers to talk to them as well. And though mostly the instructions around the home come from mothers, then we as the fathers, we find it very difficult as well to have this conversation with your teen son. Where are you going to start? You want to ask them questions, and they're feeling like you're intruding my space. You know, as they're growing.
The initial, it's usually very uncomfortable.
Yeah, because you know, they will protect their rooms. They will feel like they're becoming adults. Their voices are breaking, whatever. So they want to keep that. So when you're coming in to begin asking them questions about their social life, they may not even want to answer. I try to have different conversations with my boys. And I tell you, they will not talk as much as when they talk with the mama. It's not because we have issues. It's just...
They open up more to her compared to...
Yeah, they will. They will talk a little bit more over there because they feel they have leeway as well.
Yeah.
And that happens in quite a number of homesteads as well. So then it puts the responsibility nearly on the mother, who sometimes feels that she's overwhelmed. I think the thing is, if we take this conversation a bit more to the boy child, we will try to stem it. But we have also empowered the girls to a certain degree that we did not even imagine we would. Because in the past, the girl was supposed to be shy and coy, and if somebody approached you, you look down and you stand at a distance, you know, way before COVID came with social distancing. And
That was already social distancing.
They were already doing that. Right now,
Girls will face you and ask you, Nasema.
they are the ones. They're the ones who begin the conversations. They're the ones who pursue. They're the ones who are wondering,
if you want it, go for it.
Why are you not interested in me in this way?
Yeah.
So it's also a very dicey place. But I think that the conversation has got to be more of a dialogue. We have to start from the point of knowing what they know. Then from there, earning their confidence and their trust, and begin to guide that conversation.
Roberta, there is this concern that is also there. Parents, hakuna mzazi ana believe mtoto wake ameharibika ama ni mbaya. You know, I want you to talk to parents and caregivers about this cohort we are talking about, this population, 10 to 19. Things have changed. QT anasema we are now in the digital era. Talk to parents about what this digital era is actually looking like.
I like what QT and CJ said. There's a video I was watching about this lady. I think she was in the same age bracket, and she was talking about how she grew up with unsupervised screen time. And you know, si tukigrow, we used to see, okay, mi sikugrow na hizo ma iPad na masijui nini. And I would...
Really?
Hizo nimeziona juzi after uni. Wallahi, so...
Okay, sawa.
And the lady was talking about how, she was talking about the dangers of her childhood and how she grew up. She was saying how she would go on these applications where she was talking to older men, and she was a teenager, but unajua huwezi jua who's behind the screen on the other side. And these people would be online talking to, they masquerade as like they're your age. They talk to you, groom you, nini. So hizo unaanza catch feelings ama ku get attached to this online personalities that you've never met, you don't know anything about. And this lady was just talking about the dangers of unsupervised screen time. And when she grew up, she finally asked her parents, why did you guys just let me on social media without checking what I was doing? And the parents said they told her that they trusted her. And this brings me to what they both said. Iyo unsupervision, iyo kutojali ama kutokuwa involved with what your kid is doing. I mean, I know it's not easy, especially saizi when it's really hard to pay bills, it's really hard to keep the house running without kukuwa na income. So most parents have to be out there fending for the family. But then that's why I always say you have to be intentional with having kids. You can't just stumble upon. And anytime I say that, people get shocked, like, oh, kids. Like, you have to be very intentional, even with the planning, even with, do you want children? Because if you want kids, you will find a way to make it happen. You'll find a way to make sure that, and trust me, I understand. I know it's difficult. We always say how all these things are difficult, but then you can't bring kids in the world and then you start saying how you don't have time for them, you can't make time, you're not available, you want to keep them distracted, you don't know who's raising your kids. Your 12, 11, 9-year-old daughter is talking to a grown 50, 40-year-old man on the internet who's exposing them to all these things that maybe hawapei information that's age appropriate. And Kenya Sija amesema, hii information, I know, like I said again, I know it's difficult to have these conversations, but as a parent, it's your job to have the information, to know how you relay the messages with age-appropriate discussions. Whether your kid is 2 years old or 3 years old, easy conversations kuna venye unaweza ziingiza kwa topic without it being too explicit for them, or without it being something that shocks them or that scares them. And then if you're good, like CJ said, if you're good at communication, if your communication skills are very good as a parent, inakuwa topic mumegrow mukiongeanga, si kitu yenye ati. Yes, from very young, they already grow up knowing this is one, this is two, and kids are pretty smart. They catch on really fast, they understand things very easily. If you're just patient with them and if you're kind and generous with your information and how you speak with them, they're very, very smart. They understand things very easily. So, e-conversation, si kitu yenye, venye si tulifanyiwa unaambiwa, don't sit near boys. And then when you turn 27, now everyone wants to know, where's your boyfriend? But you guys told me to stay away from the boys. What? Now you want me to start talking to them?
Around this time of the year, you're about to go home for the holidays.
You know, so age-appropriate conversations along the line. Even when they're 12, kuna vitu wanajua. Hata me, for as far as I can remember, when I was 8, these things I knew. When I was 6, there's things I knew that I would never ask my mom. But if maybe my parents made the conversation in a way that I could understand easier or better, then it would be easy. When I turned 15, so unaona siwezi shy away. See, why would I be scared? This is something we've been talking about ever since I was a baby. So it's something you grow understanding. Si kitu tu na bombard mtu nayo when they turn 20. Okay, now let's talk about reproduction. No, it has to be very gradual from the onset of your kid. So as a parent, kuna vitu zenye lazima ufanye tu. Uwezi decide kukua ignorant ama kukua detached ama kukua unavailable. Unfortunately, you don't have that luxury anymore. The moment you decide that this is what I'm doing, you have to apply yourself. Get the information so that talking to these kids is easier. When you know what you're talking about or what you need to teach on what you're saying, unacha kudelegate kwa church institutions na teachers na sijui social settings ati si wanaendanga sijui nini wataongeleshwa huko. Most of these things that we talk about, especially sex and HIV, this information, we get it from our peers. And our peers don't have real facts. They don't have information qua ground. They only know the things they've tried out themselves, things they've watched on TV, things they've seen online, because it's all of us. No one, our parents are not talking to us about it because kila mtu ana delegate, the next person will teach, the next person will teach. But I would like to say to parents, your kids are very smart. Your kids are worthy of this information, and to arm them with it is to prepare them for later. When someone has information and they know much more, it's so much easier even for them to make better decisions. Because even if you meet a 9-year-old, these kids know. They know what all these things are. And also CJ mentioned getting to understand what your kids know. Don't be scared about. In fact, if they know much, I think you should be happy that your kids know how to expose themselves to information. Now your job is just to curb it, to streamline it for them, ndo ikue appropriate for their age, appropriate for their... Na si kuwa,
and also to clear out the misinformation.
Yes. Yeah. And the best thing is, ever since I started building a very strong relationship with my parents, improving the communication, I realized that I go to them for anything. Anything. Hata ikuwe sijui nani amenikosea, nani amenibia, leo niko heartbroken, sina pesa, nimekosa mtu I go to them immediately. Hata mtu anifanyeni, I just call my mom immediately. Because she's created the space where I know I can always go to her. So this is something that relationships have to be very intentional. You don't just wake up one day and decide you want to talk to this kid about HIV/Z. Let's make it common. And please, tuache kusema ni ngumu. I mean, I know ni ngumu, but tuache kupea iyo leeway ya kusema it's hard, it's difficult. Please.
It has to be done.
Yes.
That's what we are saying.
Yes.
Under the current circumstances,
it has to be.
Please.
You have no choice.
Yeah.
Cutie, there are people who still think that if you start having these conversations with young people, you're actually exposing them to things that they are not supposed to be exposed to. Actually, critics of comprehensive sexuality education will tell you it's going to expose our children to things that we don't want them to know. What do you think or say about that?
I'd say most of the time as a parent, sometimes follow the lead of your child. You know, as CJ has said, children are very inquisitive and they will come asking you questions like, Mom, how are babies made? You know, you need to follow the lead of your child. So if they're bought in the supermarket.
Stock brings them.
That story we've been hearing it since we were young, you know.
A kid of this generation will tell you are lying.
You're lying, Mom.
They will tell you to your face.
Dad, you're lying. So when your child starts asking you questions, follow their lead and start from there. Start building that conversation from there. Because you can't say that you'll expose these kids to all these things. They already know, but they're just coming up to you like, you know, Kitambo, you'd go and ask that question and be told, no, you can't talk about that. But right now, when your kids come to you and they start asking, Mom, is kissing bad? You should actually, now that's your lead to start that conversation with your child. And I think, for me, actually, what I personally think, the best time to actually start these conversations is birth time. You see, when you're bathing the child, when you're doing that is when you start now telling them about their body parts, because your child is already changing. You can actually see, as a mother, when you're bathing the child, you can actually see the changes and all that, and you start talking to them about that. You tell them, do you know which part of the body? It's the same way you tell them, this is the eye, it's for seeing, this is the ear, we used it. Start talking to them about that. Pole, 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 start building the conversations, because once you start that, you start creating boundaries. Talk to them about boundaries. Mama, no one should touch you. No one should touch this part of the body. And then you start talking about also consent. Teach them about consent. No one should come close to you. And if they do, even uncle, whoever. You see, actually the people taking advantage of our kids are the relatives around us. You see, if my sister is trusting me enough to bring my 9-year-old nephew to live with me, I should be able to protect this child. But you see, most people, actually, it's relatives who are taking advantage of these children. So once you tell your child about, you teach them about consent. No one should touch your body. Your body is private. This part is private. You talk to them. You actually start that conversation from there. That's personally what I think. Like, you should start that conversation from there, because that part, you're not exposing them. But now they know about boundaries. They know about consent. No one should touch me. You know, nowadays we go places, we hug people, we kiss people, and you should tell your child, like, don't let anyone hug you. Don't let anyone kiss you in a certain way. Once they start understanding those things, they will be able to come to you and say, Mom, you know, you told me so-and-so, I shouldn't do A, B, C, D. So from there now, you continue building these conversations, because you can't say that you're exposing them. A preteen, I'm telling you, at 10, they know, and they actually come and ask me. Like, even me, my nephew, sometimes they ask me questions. I'm just like, oh my God, what am I supposed to say? But kidogo, you see, a long time ago, we never used to watch certain programs, you know, Bold and the Beautiful, and what used to be like, you cannot watch these things. But right now, they're already watching these things. You find them watching, I don't know, anime, I don't know what. And actually, when you listen to what they're watching, these things are inside. You're like, the kissing is there, the boyfriend, girlfriend is there. It's normal.
You'll find the whole family just comfortably watching that scene.
Yes.
Nobody's even moved. I mean, so Tambo, it was, hey, you know, things will happen. You will know, hey, it's not business as usual.
So as a parent, you need to also initiate these conversations and ask your kid, like, do you have a girlfriend? Do you have a boyfriend? Do you know what a boyfriend is? Do you know what kissing is? So it's important to talk about boundaries and also consent. Once they know those two things, I don't think we'll have this trouble.
Yeah. Hey, Mongia point. Yeah. How do you establish that level of trust? Because parents are known to be very disciplinarian, yeah? Your parent used to tell you it's wrong to have a boyfriend, it's wrong, like everything was wrong. How do you even just face that parent and begin to open up and tell them you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend? How can a parent or a caregiver create an environment that can be enabling for a child to really open up about some of these issues or even ask these questions?
I think the general rule is for the person to never think or never doubt that you love them. When they believe that you love them, whether you're handing over discipline or correction or disagreeing with them, they will keep the trust. I think the trust is lost when if I am not sure that you wish me well, then I will begin feeling like, but Safin is always critical of me. So even when what you're speaking is factual, I will not take it because I think that you have something personal against me. So you lose objectivity, and I also lose objectivity in that. So even where they have had to correct, there has got to be also a lot of affirmation. We can't only come in when somebody has done something wrong because they begin to doubt your motives. There has got to be the element of coming in for affirmation when they've done things well, because that builds up the credit for when I come to correct you, you don't doubt my intention. When I say this is not right, then you don't doubt my intention as well. So if all your life I've told you you can't go out, you can't see people, you can't meet this, you can't meet this, you can't do that, even at the point where you feel like you need to meet somebody else, you can't come to me because you really, you already know. You already know that I'm going to refuse. And you see, generally when people are making decisions, they're like rivers that will go around obstacles. So you've not stopped their course.
You've just changed
You've just changed their course. So they will do that thing elsewhere and not have trouble with you, either because of the respect or fear. So you'd rather have that river flow towards you.
How to deal with it.
Towards you. And see, we learn these things because some of us, our parenting styles come from how we were parented. Then you realize you're parenting a very different generation and you've got to unlearn. Then you've got to learn and relearn a few things. You've got to teach yourself that I'm going to try and listen more. So you come in and say, okay, please tell me about that. And you may be feeling like you have rage on the inside about what they're about to tell you. Then you have to tell yourself, calm yourself down until they tell you everything you need to hear.
Relax.
Because if you don't, you know, I have this son, we lost him last year. So one time we're taking him to school when he was in Form 1, and he'd started getting into certain groupings here and there. So one time we're taking him to school, and then this boy just, you know, just innocently begins to talk about the places around the school. And he was the one showing us all the places. That market has this. We're driving. This market has this one has this. And then the man in me is like, but when did you know that? Because you're supposed to be in boarding school, and the weekends, you're not supposed to go out. So I was like, what time do you even get to know that? Then my wife told me, see, you raise your voice like that, you'll not know what he knows.
Yes.
Yeah, true.
So we've got to learn. And sometimes to learn that, then you actually need your partner to help you. And I think that's why it used to be better when it was a whole community that was raising our people. Because if somebody would have an issue with their parents, they go to their aunt, they go to their uncle, somebody else who will be a bit more objective, not very vested and invested in it emotionally, because you'll be feeling like your mother is going to kill you. So you run to your mother's sister. Then they bring in the balance. I think we still need to get back into the place of involving more people than just ourselves in this. There's a reason why, Safin, a doctor will not perform surgery on their own relative because they will not be objective. And sometimes even just in doing that with your kids, to open up, to cause them to open up a bit more and create the trust, you need to widen the bracket of the people that they can talk to as well. Because they may tell you some things, but then out of fear, again, they may not say everything. So also use some wisdom, you know, get to use somebody else who they can talk to a bit more. Then come back and don't react. Hold yourself. So the onus is on us as the parents and the adults and the caregivers to them. Like, just tell yourself, all right, I may not agree with this, but I need to bring myself to the point where this person will not be afraid to talk or even asking questions. Because if somebody asks you something like, you know, is kissing bad and she's 9, then you raise your voice, where did you see kissing? What have you started doing? This kid was just asking a question.
Our African mother.
It doesn't mean they wanted to do something. But you see, we project. We project our own fears on our children. So I think the onus is on the parent to make sure that the child never doubts that you love them.
All right. As you're about to wrap up, Roberta, an interesting trend is also, out of these new infections, there's something we are reading in them, that the people who are actually infecting the young people are older than them. What happened? I mean, when did things change?
That's crazy.
Yeah?
Because that's grooming.
Because
that's rape. That's taking advantage of kids. And we need to call it exactly what it is. It's not kids misbehaving. It's older people taking advantage of kids. And tunafaa kuwa vigilant. Because sababu hao watu tunawafichanga in our homes. It's our uncles, our aunties, our brothers, our sisters, our friends, family friends, the help, the shamba help, the sijui what. We know that. And if you're not creating a conducive environment for your kids to be able to come and speak with you, then venye tu CJ amesema, you're not stopping the river, you're just changing its course. And you see how groomers, and the reason it's called grooming is because they don't come to you with violence and I'll take you and I'll keep. No, they become your friend. They are so kind and they're so nice to you and they're so loving and they get you gifts and they want to do nice things for you. And then when he's telling you, so you come to you know, you just think, Uncle likes me, Uncle is my friend. auntie loves spending time with me. And then akisha kwambia na usiambie mom kenye tulifanya, of course you're not going to say you're scared, you fear, you don't know what's wrong and what's right. You've never been taught boundaries. You're a kid. You cannot speak up to an older person. Like, you cannot say no. If they want to take from you, they'll take from you easily because they're older, they're bigger, they're stronger than you. So within our homes, let us be very aware. Hatuna hiyo, nashinda nikisema hatuna hiyo luxury ya kukua laxed, like kurelax na ku-ignore ati the teachers will teach my children, the youth pastor will teach my kids. No, you have to be involved kwa ground. And I love what CJ said about community. You cannot raise a kid alone. You can't. You have to make sure you create a community for this kid where if they don't feel safe coming to you as mommy, they can go to uncle, nani. Let's create a community for our kids intentionally. That means, as an adult, you have to be a very good person at communication because hii community inatoka wapi? It's your friends. The community of my kids is going to be my friends, my relatives, my brothers, my sisters. And I have to make sure I have good relationships with these people, enough to know that they're safe, they're good. I allow them into my home. I allow them around my kids, my energy. All these sorts of relationships take a lot of intentionality and effort. So for these kids, let's shift the conversation from teenagers are having sex and they're misbehaving because they're exposed to sijui what, into older people are taking advantage of these kids. And we need to be very, very vigilant.
All right.
I mean, there's no way a 16-year-old boy is going to be in charge of, in a relationship with a 24-year-old woman. That's definitely being taken advantage of. So, na kama mtu hajui grooming ni nini, hajui consent ni nini, hajui rape ni nini, atajuaje anakuwa raped? Atadhani tu ni kitu normal yenye inafanywa. They'll just know when you hang out with auntie, auntie touches me here and it's fine. Then you'll never bring it up to your mom because it's auntie. It's auntie. Why would auntie do that? Auntie is always at home with us. She's a woman. I've never had women do such things. It's your friends and your sisters and this isn't, haiko just one gender. So you can't just be checking at it for the men. You have to be very careful who comes around your kids, who hangs around them, who talks to them. Let's build safe communities for ourselves because inakuwa kama domino effect to everything we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cutie, ameongea kuhusu grooming. As we wind up, talk to those who want to be groomed. This small girl, big God syndrome. You want to pap, unaishi sijui wapi, somebody is financing you. Yeah. Let's talk about that because it comes with conditions. You don't have a say. This person would have their way anyhow, because they're actually in charge of everything about you. Talk to that young girl who wants it easy and they feel like this is the new, it's trending and it's the new, wave that she should be part of.
Again, it goes back to parenting 101. It goes back to foundation. It goes back to grassroots. The way we talk to our girl child. CJ has said we've empowered the girl child so much. So I think we should keep on talking to the girl child and telling them that you don't really need this from anyone. You can actually do it yourself. Why do you need someone to go and finance you? Why do you need to go get all this stuff from someone? Well, you can actually work hard for it. So that empowerment factor still goes a long way. Like, we need to talk to our girl child and tell them all about you can get all these things so that you don't need to go to that. And this life, the same way the life comes easily, same way that money will go easily. Wanasema pesa haraka inaisha haraka. Secondly, I would love to say, like, let's let the government come in and make sex education a subject in schools. That's very, very crucial and it's very, very important. Let's stop ignoring. We're already seeing, those are statistics. You're talking about 10 to 19. So if this is happening between 10 to 19, by the time these kids are getting to junior high, let's start putting that subject in schools. We need to talk about sex education as a topic in school, like equal subject. Same way we are learning math, same way we are learning English, Swahili, sex education should be a whole subject in schools. Also in churches, our Sunday school teachers, those that are there counseling our kids, please, let's also make this sex education. Take it seriously. Also as a parent, as aunties, I'm an auntie, like, let's the way CJ said, let it be a community thing. Let's talk to our children about sex, because I know it's uncomfortable, but we are getting there. Pole pole, we are getting there. Sex education is very, very important to our kids.
Na unapenda huyo kijana, umemtaja leo.
Shout out to Eugene.
Ni auntie wa Mado. All right, CJ, as you wind up, I mean, what's the way forward? These statistics are not looking good. I mean, we should be concerned.
Well, I think that when handling information, sometimes we give misinformation and sometimes we give less information. So in the misinformation, for example, we bring in things like threats and fears, which don't really work. Because if you say to a child or to anybody, don't get close to a girl or to a boy because what they will do to you is bad, then you actually get in there, then you realize it's not bad.
It's good.
Nothing that person will hear again.
Yeah.
And probably some of that misinformation is what is emboldening these people. Because I said from the beginning, they're inquisitive, they're very curious. So when they get into these spaces, then they realize it's not what you said, or what you said to them that would happen did not happen. They lose the fear and they get in with boldness. So we shouldn't have misinformation. Just say, well, this is a good thing, but it is a good thing when in the right place, right context, with the right person.
Right age.
Because if you get into it like this, there may be this kind of consequences. This is how it will make you feel. This is how you may feel about yourself and stuff. Let them get to know the truth about it and make informed decisions, but not misinformation.
Yeah, true.
I
and
like
imagine,
that so much.
Yeah.
I like that. And that's why I started my blog, so that kufilio gapia, let's talk. Msiogope, because hakuna place ya kwenda kutafuta information. Ni ngumu sana, especially watu wa your age, kuuliza like an older person. It's very difficult ati anti-QT, sijui ni limit. It can be a bit difficult, but if they can even go somewhere, even if it's online, where there's a space that's safe, anonymous, and I like what CJ said, that's why I chimed in, the truth. The truth really makes a difference.
Sugarcoat.
Yeah, and I had never thought of that. Because if you lie and then you go and it's opposite, it makes people wonder.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Talking about your blog, let's talk about where people find you in case they want to.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Roberta.
My blog is loveandorgasms.com. You can search me on. I have a podcast too. And Roberta Bobby everywhere online. Everywhere. The link team.
On all social media pages, it's QT Lady Josh, and also on Radio Citizen every Monday to Friday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Reggae vibes, good vibes, Teachings Tuesday with Shataboy and DJ Rambo.
Okay. CJ?
Love that. CJ Atemo, everywhere.
Everywhere.
Right.
For the nuggets of wisdom and all these punchlines that he has given us on the show, utampata on social media. And let's talk about this. Let's escalate this conversation on social media. Parents, take charge. Talk to your children. Caregivers, talk to your children. And adults, I mean, just protect our children around us. Don't take advantage of them, because these numbers we are talking about this morning, these are not numbers that we should be talking about when it comes to something as negative as HIV and AIDS. Maybe something else, watch our lead, but not on HIV infections. My name is Safina Chengoma. It's been a pleasure doing this for you this Tuesday. Let's do this again tomorrow, bright and early. But for now, it's a wrap. Have a lovely day ahead.